Now to the main business, and specifically, I think, to the programme motion. The minutes formally. Thank you. The question is the Scotland Bill Programme number 2 motion as on the order paper. Does the honourable gentleman wish to orate? Oh, indeed. Mr. Pete Wishart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do wish the opportunity to narrate because we are profoundly disappointed with the time that's available to discuss very significant and important issues and amendments for the Scotland Bill, what is a critical piece of legislation for our nation. There are over 100 amendments on the order paper today, Mr. Speaker, that you've selected for debate this afternoon, and that follows the 76-page document of amendments being submitted from honourable members and right honourable members right across this House. Mr. Speaker, we've now only got something like 2.5 hours to debate the critical amendments on tax powers and on the Constitution. After that, we'll probably have now less than 2 hours to discuss the equally significant and important welfare powers and the rest of the whole bill. And we know how this place works. There'll be divisions. 20 minutes taken up with this 18th century arcane practice of wandering through a lobby to be counted. We're just wondering when this House will start to enter into the 21st century, leave the 18th century so it doesn't eat into time-limited time that we have. Madam Deputy Speaker, how could this possibly be right that we have such little time? Realistically, we're only going to have something like 4 hours, maybe 3.5 hours. That's little more than an honourable member, would get. And they're chuntering away. Don't they know that this is 45 minutes that's time reserved? Even this today, it's actually eaten into time. They can't even bother looking at their order papers. Madam Deputy Speaker, Scotland is watching these proceedings, and it will just not understand the gross disrespect shown to our nation's debate and our nation's business. It will feel like Scotland's been given an almighty slap in the face and told just to get on with whatever time this House seems deemed fit to provide to our nation. And what...
Order! The honourable gentleman is making some extremely important points. He is saying that he needs to be heard. He does need to be heard, not just outside this chamber, but inside this chamber, and members will be quiet while he speaks. Sir.
So, Madam Deputy Speaker, Scotland's watching. They're observing these proceedings, and they cannot believe that we have been given such a limited amount of time to debate these critical and important and significant amendments for these things. And the thing is, we had 4 days of committee. Now, we were actually surprised and delighted that we got all this time, but what a supreme waste of time those 4 days were, with a government that were only semi-engaged in that debate. Not one amendment was accepted from the hundreds of amendments that was provided to this government. They provided nothing, or no amendments, or no significant amendments of their own. The Secretary of State said it was a listening and a reflecting stage. He was more reflective than the High Street mirror shop during the course of the summer. The one thing that he did not do was properly engage in committee stage of this House. Now, if it's all just about listening, if committee stage of a bill is about listening, but as well to go round to the Secretary of State and have a little chit-chat around a cup of tea, or maybe even write to him, but a committee stage of this House should be the place that amendments are properly debated, properly considered, with a government engaged in the process. It's not good enough. It is not good enough to come here at the report stage of a bill with hundreds of amendments and we're now getting time limited to actually consider it at this point of a bill. It shows great disrespect to this House, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's not the way to do business. If this is how we are now to do business in the House in the future, where the committee stage of this whole House is nothing other than a listening exercise, we are going to have to recalibrate how we do business in this House, because it is not good enough that we spend all this time merely to be listened to, and we get 5 hours today to discuss the serious, significant and important amendments that our nation really needs in order to make its business. And what we've got hundreds of amendments now that the government decided to get engaged in this process, and they told us they were all unnecessary. We didn't need them. The Smith Commission bill was delivered in full, But all of a sudden today, in this limited amount of time available to us, there's hundreds of government amendments on the order paper. We will now no longer have the opportunity to properly scrutinise what this government's brought in front of this House today. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, we still don't believe that the Smith Commission has been delivered in full. What we we are having today in terms of these amendments, and amendments that honourable friends of mine have submitted today was on this order paper to make sure that we get that delivered in full. But even if it was, this bill is still significantly behind where the Scottish people are in terms of what they want from their constitutional arrangements for our nation. This is only the start of a catch-up process. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman.
I know he wants to spend all his time complaining about how terribly Scotland's being treated, fuel grievance, wind up the Scots. But instead of whinging about the process and wasting time on this, why doesn't he sit down and allow the debate to take place?
Madam Deputy Speaker, we have been shown absolutely gross disrespect today, and for the honourable gentleman to stand up there and say that Scotland should just put up with the few hours, put up and shut up as usual. Well, it's not, and I'm not giving way to the silly honourable gentleman once again. If he wants to just speech, it's up to him. Madam Deputy Speaker, what a sham of a process this has proven to be. This is still...
On a point of order.
It's a complete disgrace for him to accuse people of attacking Scotland when all they're doing, let's be really clear about this, is commenting on his ludicrous tactics. Him personally, not the people of Scotland, him.
Order. The honourable gentleman knows very well that that is not a point of order for the chair. It's part of the debate, and I hope that since the honourable gentleman for Perth and West Perthshire has pointed out that there is only a small amount of time available for this debate, that I hope that we can soon come to the debate itself, and that the honourable gentleman will also curtail his remarks. Pete Wishart.
I'm just speaking, and I will, but I don't want to take up any time, but I just want this House to understand the rage that is felt by myself and my honourable friends about the limited amount of time that we have been given today. But I also want to reassure the House. We are not looking to have this bill certified as English only, even though the government actually considered the Scotland bill to be an English only bill in terms of its first list. We don't even want it certified as Scottish only, even though every single part of this bill exclusively applies only to Scotland. So I just hope during the course of the few short hours that we've got this, the English members will remember this when they make their contributions today and how they're voting. Listen to the voice of Scottish members of Parliament when it comes to this. It's not good enough just to turn up and decide that you're going to have a say on Scottish business in this new age of English votes for English law. So we won't have that certified like that today, Madam Deputy Speaker. We want this bill to be discussed and debated properly. It is way behind what the Scottish people are actually requiring. We won't be calling a vote on this programme motion, even though I think the House knows just how angry we're feeling about the limited time, because it does take up time away from us today. Madam Deputy Speaker, yes, I'll give way to him.
Does my honourable friend agree that one of the real ironies in all of this, of course, is that after today's truncated debate, this bill is going to move to the House of Lords, where it will take weeks and possibly months of scrutiny, in which which has no democratic mandate from any voter in Scotland?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend, because that's exactly what happens now. Is the minute this leaves this House, it goes down to the unelected chamber of donors and cronies, who will therefore then seek to impose themselves on the business of Scotland. And it's an absolute and utter disgrace. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Secretary of State thinks that this bill puts a line under the ambition of the people of Scotland. He is gravely mistaken. Scotland has a fuller vision of what it thinks of itself now. Scotland is a more confident, assertive nation, and it will never stop asking for more responsibility. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Scottish people know that it is better the Scottish people being in charge of its nation's affair, rather than a Conservative government that we did not vote for with this one solitary member of Parliament.